Guess this is working. Sweet. Oh, this is my my first time streaming on YouTube, so let's see how this goes. Oh, 1 second. Let me check my phone here. Huh, okay. There we go. All right. So, for those of you who were here yesterday, you can see that we've changed quite a bit, and we're working on the wiring here. I'm completely redoing the wiring, as you can see, because I just was not happy with it. So now we are starting on the second floor, right here. So we got the main wired, and the main is just the nuclear reactor going into the main. It's actually going into this one because I needed two mains and didn't know that at the time. And then the main is going into all of the other junction boxes, and then the junction boxes are going into the relays, and then the relays are running to the rest of the ship. So that is how I decided to do it. And you can see we labeled the main, auxiliary, first floor, second floor, third floor. And then in addition to labeling them, these things, we added icons. So we can see specifically, like, this is the auxiliary power. This is the auxiliary power powering the ballast pumps. I couldn't really find a way to label this one properly because this is like, you know, the engine and all that stuff, but I think it'll be okay. So now we're on the second floor, and the next icon is this one. And I was messing with these to make them look better, which is subjective, you know, in my opinion. In my opinion, they look better. So we're going to take this one down to 2. Oops. We're going to go here, and we're going to make it that pretty neon green color that I like. I guess it's fine. Okay, we're going to delete this one, and then this one we're going to control CV. Put it here so we know, oh, that's electrical. And then we're going to put this here. We're going to shrink this down to 1 with the scale here. So in scale you can make anything, you make it as big or small as you want it. We're just going to put 0.1 and press enter. And there we have it. And we're going to put this guy right here, and you can see it went behind it, right? But it's still, that outline of a box means that it's still selected. And what we want to do is come down here to sprite depth, and this is where you can bring things like farther back into the sub or more forward into the sub. And we're going to bring it more forward by just deleting this all out, pressing enter, and now it is right there. And then I like to just align them with the lines on the box like that, so they're all somewhat uniform. I think I had one like that. Let's see. Yeah, that. Now we know that is the second floor, the first room, this room here. We don't really need an engine room. I wired it to something else, so I'm not too worried about it. I think I wired it to the medical, so I'm not really too worried about that room, to be honest, because it's just a status monitor and a light. The rest is auxiliary or main. So now we go to our second main that we had to do. We go into wiring mode. Click on the wire. Red for power. We have one more left in this main. We're going to click up here. We're going to click up here. We're going to click over to the one we're working on. Right here. Come on down to here. A little bit more maybe. Up a little bit. Let's see. Try it right there. We're going to click E and just plug it in. Okay. I am a little slow at shipbuilding. And it is what it is. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast, right? So now this has power, which is fantastic. And now we can start wiring everything else in here. So I would like, well, this isn't engineering, so this is just, yeah, so we might not even need a relay switch, we're going to find out. So we're going to plug in the power, and this power is going to go out to a light. Actually, it's going to go out to this light right here. Oh no, we'll go out to the light down here. Yeah, that makes more sense, right? Power. And yeah, we might want another junction box for it. Yeah, for the batteries. I want to do a battery array, and I'm not sure how to set up a battery array. So we're going to click another wire and click it here. And we're going to send it over here and up here. And we're going to come over to this light. And we're going to wire this light in the power. Oh yeah, this is the medical door, so they wanted it unwired. They being my crew. Viola Muskrat wants to wire this up a certain way for our first mate and medic, Krepic, so that's why it's like that. Okay, now we got the light plugged in, and oh, they're not all like that. So we're gonna come out of wiring mode for a second, and we just want to click on these lights here. We want them in line with this light over here, and I think that might be it, but I'm gonna make sure. Oh, look at that. It was it. Okay. What were they, like this? No, there were two more lights in here? That seems like a lot. That does seem like a lot. Maybe like right here. Oh. Well, let's see. We can click the visibility here and click lighting. Yeah, I don't really see the purpose of this light, so I'm just going to take it out. Okay, so now we have that light. Now we're going to do the next light. We got to go back into wiring mode, click the power, click on the junction box, click on power, click here, come up here, and you just want to click to like hang the wires, and then you come over here, click here. You want to get it close to that circle, if you can see that, because that's where the wire is going to go when you plug it in, and you can't really control that. There we go. If you really care about how things look anyway. I'm not too fussy of a person, but my crew is. They get upset if things don't look correctly. Okay, and then we have another light. Oh no, that's it for electrical. Electrical's done, except for this mess over here that we need to do, which is going to be a pain, I think. So we're going to come out of wiring mode. We might as well just address this now, even though it's going to be painful. You might say, what do you have supercapacitors for? And if you didn't know, these are supercapacitors. And a supercapacitor is useful because if we press E on it, here's a recharge rate for the supercapacitor. Now we want them all set at 50. Anything over 50 can be dangerous. You can set them higher. I wouldn't do it, but you can. It increases load and it increases fires. Well, don't quote me there. Yeah, it does increase. It should increase load, yeah, because it's more kilowatts. And I'm just kind of placing them on the floor. Okay, that one's good. So you can't fire a weapon without a supercapacitor plugged into the weapon because the weapon draws so much power. The weapon also needs to be linked to the periscope As you can see, we have some of them linked, some of them not linked yet. So we need one for guns, one for top guns, and one for bottom guns. And I like to highlight so I'm going to move this one over, but I like to highlight the other one like this, so I can see where my spacing is. And you can see like right here. Yeah, right here there's no gap and there's no overlap. And the reason why I like to do that is because I guess maybe I have a little OCD. But the other reason is because if you come over, like, see if I do this and they overlap, I could have somebody, and they're the same item too, which is worse, right? I could have a crew member or myself think I'm clicking on this one, but I'm clicking on this one. You see what I'm saying? Because it's just, it's off just a little bit. We don't really need, I spent time aligning them there, and that was kind of silly of me because I want the battery array right here. So it doesn't even really, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's put these guys back over here because I want them to be right by the door if I can. Because if the guns go down because of a power issue, you want to be able to access them quickly. So we don't want them too far back. I do not know how to wire a battery array, so we're going to figure this out together. It's going to be fun. I've never done it before. Let's see if it works. So we're going to type in battery in the all filter. And here you have your filters where you can just search by category. I do sometimes click on these, but I really like the all filter because I'm pretty familiar with most items and I can just type them in and find what I want usually. Not always, but usually. And the other thing is, sometimes I'll go through these after an update though, because new stuff is added into these categories. New stuff being new items, I guess they're all items technically. Especially decorations. A lot of new decorations were added last time. Okay, so here we have a battery, and for a ship like this, I'm going to have to look at the battery properties. What I'm looking for is anything max output, 1,000. Capacity, 2,000. So it can hold a capacity of 2,000. Its max output is 1,000. Now the problem I'm going to have, I don't know the output of the reactor. I don't know it. And I won't know it until the rest of the ship is wired. So I don't even know how many batteries I need right now. I have no idea. I think, because we're rewiring the ship, I had it all wired, I didn't like it, so I decided to redo it. And I think it was like 39.40 for kilowatt. So that would be 4 batteries to power the entire ship, which would, so that's the end of the 3rd floor. Let's just see what that would look like. And we need, I just want to get my spacing right, so I use the relay component for spacing on the junction boxes, because you can see I have these are relay components. You can see I have them in between the boxes, so I just want to make sure that I keep that spacing just for aesthetics and for what would you call it, room to maneuver for the electricians, I guess. I don't really know what term I would use there. Alright, so we'll just move this guy. We'll highlight the relay, and we'll move the battery up like this. And we'll just get it, it's like PowerPoint almost. And that's perfect. And then we'll put the battery here. So that is where and how I want my batteries. I now know that. I'm going to delete this relay because I don't know if I need it yet or not. And I just don't want to put things down that I don't end up using, and then they're just in the way. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Let's get another battery here. We'll put the battery down. And we're going to want a total of 4, but again, we want to match them up for space. Let's get another one here. Go ahead and put it down. I think that worked out. Let's see. Yeah, that one. That was nice. And 4. We're just going to... Oh, there's a really weird noise coming in my headphones. It's strange. Huh. Something in Barotrauma. It sounds like snoring or something. Okay. So we got the 4 batteries just for space issues. Now I know that's where that is going to be. I know the junction box has to somehow connect to the battery. I know we need a button between the wiring to turn on the batteries. So let's take a look. I think they're just called buttons. Button, yeah. So there's a button, and let's take a look at the button here. I'm not sure I'm going to want the button in the same area. Oh, I wanted to look at the electric. Wait. Sometimes, so for example, when you put a light down, you want to make sure that is on is checked, because it's not checked by default when you put a light on. And again, I apologize. These are not lights, these are lamps according to the game. But they go by the lighting. So, anyway, the lamp, when you put a lamp down, they're not on by default, so you have to check it on. And that is, there's a few items like that in Barotrauma where you have to turn them on. I'm not a big electrical person with Barotrauma. I know it uses Boolean logic, and I understand Boolean logic, so I can get by okay, but we want to make sure locked can be picked. So there's, oh man, yawning. Oh, excuse me. So there's nothing in here that stands out to me as it's going to be an issue. So we want to check the wiring on the button and see if I can figure it out without having to Google. And if I do have to Google, that's fine. So let's go into wiring mode, signal out. So let's just signal out. Okay. So then we would wire. We would wire the junction box power to it. Yeah. Oh, I don't have that. We would wire the power and. No, you wouldn't wire power to it because there's no power in, right? So you'd wire the signal. Load value out, no. Power value out, no. Condition out. Think it would be condition out because the condition is on or off. Right? So we'd wire signal out. Maybe not. Maybe it would be signal 0 or 1 or whatever. And then, but how would that turn the power on or off from there? I think the answer might be... Oh, those are automatically powered. I think the answer might be in the relay switch. So let's just take a look at one of our relay switches here. Yes. So that's how you would do it. The relay switch would control the power for you. So you'd have to wire a relay. So you'd have to wire a junction box to a relay, to a signal out, to the button, to the power in the battery, right? Yep, power. Yes, that's how that would work. Okay, good to know. We don't necessarily want the button down here, though. I think that's something I have to think about. Who should control the battery array, and why? I'm thinking the captain should, which would be me. I also wouldn't mind the button in a common area. So there's loading and guns and medical, and it's like in the center of the ship. Might not be a good idea. It's not far from the captain anyway. That's just something I'm going to have to think on. But I think we know how to do it. We don't need to do it right now. We need to get the rest of this wired. So second floor electrical is done. There really wasn't a whole lot. We will save. Why is... Oh, right. But I want the battery array. So do we have enough in this to wire the battery array? We have one left, which is fine because we can use relays. So I think that's okay. And if not, we might have to change some things around and rewire things. So electrical is done. Now we want to do engineering. Let's go ahead and shrink this down to 2. Let's change it to green so it looks cooler, in my opinion anyway. And let's Control C, Control V, copy and paste it, and we'll bring it over here, and then we're going to go ahead and take it down to 1. And again, if you haven't seen this before, when we click and drag this over to, whoops, I don't want to click and drag a bunch of stuff. When we click and drag this over to the second floor junction box here, the second one, it goes behind it, but it's still selected. And how you bring that to the front is the sprite def here. You can play with the numbers and look at the junction box and see what number the junction box is and what number our selected icon, engineering icon is. And you can bring it as forward as you want or as back as you want, or the junction box or the icon. It's up to you. To make things simple though, because I want this to be on top, I want the icon to be on top always, I just delete this out and I press enter and it, boom, it just automatically is the first thing now. Which is fine with me. But not everybody would want that for whatever reason. There's many. Let's make sure we... Yep, that's right. Okay. And then for engineering, we are going to need... We want to wire the junction box directly into our big equipment because the relay only has a power output of 1,000. So what that means is the nuclear reactor is going into the main junction boxes are going into, let's say, the auxiliary, and the auxiliary is going into the relay switches. In this auxiliary here, we have the pump icon. So this is for all the pumps on the ship. So if we click on this pump here, and we take a look at it, oops, like this, and we look for what we're looking for is the power output. Where is it? I don't see it. Power output. Power consumption. It's 60, right? So with one relay, you can connect 5 electrical devices. So if we connected 5 pumps, it's still under 1,000. Meaning, a relay switch that's putting out a load of 1,000 can power 5 pumps, and then some. So they're pretty powerful. But some items require more power. For example, the ballast pump, I believe, requires 300. I think I missed it. Oh, 600. Oh, max flow, sorry. Power consumption, 300, yeah. So it requires 300. So you can see where a lot of times people will build subs, especially if you're new, and you'll use junction boxes or you use relays, and you don't understand why something isn't getting power. And a lot of times something isn't getting power just because you're not using enough power. And relay switches are tricky because they can't use, for example, I think I have a relay switch actually going into here, and I didn't even look at the power consumption of this because it's something I don't really play with a whole lot. The research table. You can do genes in the research table. It's awesome. I just never done it. We wanted to try it. So let's take a look here. Where's the power consumption? 500. So now we're using half a relay for that alone. Oh my goodness. That relay might not have enough. So it might. Let's see. Is it going to a relay or a... It's going to a junction box, yeah. And that's why I say you want to use, if you're going to have a wiring setup like this, and it's fine if you don't. There's many ways. Depends on what you want to do. But if you want to have one like this, you want to, like this engineering floor run, we want to make sure we're plugging in to the big ticket items directly from the junction box. And this guy takes, how much power does this thing take? 500, and this takes, where's it at? I feel like I have to fill the silence. Power consumption, 500. So if I had a relay, and I plug and the relay can connect up to 5 devices, but I plug the same relay into this one and this one, and then I plug a light into that relay, this light will not turn on then, because this and this are consuming all the power from the relay. You see what I'm saying? Now, it's true these aren't constantly on, so this light should be on until somebody runs these at the same time, and then you would have a problem. But just to avoid it, just use the junction boxes for your big ticket items and the relays for your smaller items. if you want to do it that way. You don't have to use relays at all. It's up to you. Also, what we have here is all of our junction boxes are in one area. So there's no junction boxes anywhere else in the ship. This isn't great for load, but there's nothing wrong with it either because we have it so split up. Now, if you're worried about load, you can have like first I could have done a main here. I could have done a first floor main and a second floor main and a third floor main, and then connected those mains to their own separate devices versus having, you know, right now 2 junction boxes in the main connecting to all of them, and that would have helped with load. And I could have had like a first floor box here instead of a medical box and a security box and a gun box. I could have just had, like, say this was just a first floor box, and then I could have had a medical box in medical, and run the wire up to that box, and then run that box however I wanted to up here, with relays or multiple junction boxes or just one junction box if that's what it needed. I didn't do that. That would help with load, but I'm not worried about load. I'm just not. So I didn't do it that way on this ship anyway. I'm not worried about load. But that's another way you can do it. And some people, it depends on you and your crew, you know. Some people like to have the junction boxes in their own room. They're possessive of their junction boxes. I want my own junction box. Like, okay. We aren't gonna do that. We're gonna do it this way because I want to try it, you know. I usually do it the other way. I want to try it this way and see what happens. Anyway, let's go ahead and wire up our big ticket items first into our junction box, our engineering junction box. I always like to run the wires through the ceilings and floors as much as I can, but you don't have to do it that way. And I try to keep these kind of uniform, like with how the wires go. So you can see it's mixed results. I get some right, I get some wrong. I'm not really interested in going back to fix them though because it's time consuming, and I care, but I don't care enough to go back, I guess. And we're going to go ahead and we got the first big ticket wired. I think that's the deconstructor, yeah. And then we're going to do the second big ticket item. You know what though? We didn't we didn't even run power to this junction box. Silly me. So we'll do that after we wire this before we forget. Usually it's the first thing I do, but I forgot. And then we'll come down here. There's the circle. Call it good. This one's gonna look a little different than I would like. See it. I would prefer that it, you know. Now you can click on these and you can move them. Like you can hang the wires however you want. I just, like I said, I don't care. Alright, so we have to wire power to our engineer room here, and we need a main for that. So we're gonna take a look here and see 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we only have one more for that main, which means, and this main is full, we need another junction box. Another main junction box. Wow, this ship consumes a lot of power compared to the ones I made in the past. So let's take this junction box here and we'll put it down here for the main. I don't like that's going to cover the pump or the vent, but I don't think there's a whole lot I can do about that. Because it's going to make... Well, we're going to move the pump. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, let's put this here and click off of that. We'll just have to... Let's... Well, no. Move the pump closer to the engine. Oh, man. Okay, there's another pump here by the... Okay. Okay, yeah. I guess that'll be fine. And we want to highlight this. Oh, wow, it's way off, huh? For some reason, the junction box graphic includes the shadow of the junction box underneath it. So you have this strange space. I think it's a shadow? Looks like a shadow. Anyway, that's what's going on there. That's why it's bigger than it needs to be, is my point. And it's kind of frustrating. Now you can always click in here and decrease the scale like you've seen me do with the icons, but I'm just not going to do that. Okay, so let's come in here. Let's go to our power. Let's power into this. Let's go down here to this box. Let's power this box from the main. Nice. And then let's power this main to our engineering junction box. And we will just follow this right up here. There's no reason not to. And then we'll come to the main, which is right here. Or the main, I mean the engineering box, which is right here. Click and power it. And you can see like already we have 3 of the 5 used. You can only have 5 wires in these. That's why I had to do that. So already we have 3 of the 5 used. So we're going to end up using a relay after our next one for engineering. And that looks like we will need 1 relay on. Yeah, 1 relay is what it looks like. So no point in using another junction box if it's just lights and status monitors. Because again, like the status monitor, what was it, consume 60? I don't imagine it can consume a whole lot. Let's see. Power consumption, where are you at? Oh, 100. It consumes 100. More than I thought, but still, plenty for a relay, right? Okay, back to wiring. We got 1 more in us, right? 1, 2, 3. Yep, 1 more. And I think we'll probably just wire the status monitor so the relay's dealing with the lights, because the next biggest item in here is the status monitor. You may hear my dog Timber crying. He's a Siberian Husky. He is just fantastic. One of the best dogs I've ever owned. I had a dog named Boots when I was a kid. I really loved Boots, but Timber is definitely a fantastic puppy dog. I couldn't be more happy. Anyway, why is there a relay here? He's woken up and he is crying to go outside. So you might hear that a little bit, and I am going to let him out. Well, now I want to get this stupid relay out of the way first. Okay. So I am going to have to do a like right back kind of thing, and I do apologize for that. But I have to take care of Timber. You can't just leave a dog in a kennel all day. You know what I mean? It's funny because he actually likes his kennel though, like to sleep in. He's a goofball, man. Maybe I'll take him to the dog park today too. Oh, it's raining. Oh yeah, it was raining earlier. The dog parks around here get so muddy in the rain, and he gets so dirty because he's got so much white and gray on him. But okay, I'm going to be right back. I'm just gonna go to the Twitch studio thing here and put the be right back thing on. I'm sorry about that. I'll say be right back. Gotta let Timberwolf out, and we'll see how long he is gonna be. And then I need to shut my YouTube stream off too, so people know that. I guess I will just end stream here because there's not a